For a brief second, I want to take everyone back to 1962, when an executive from Decca Records said that the Beatles have no future in show business. The Beatles have no future in show business. Or what about the president of Western Union in 1876 that said that the telephone had too many shortcomings to ever be a means of communication? These are two examples among many others of successful individuals that have made false predictions and refused to invest into the unknown. But why is this relevant today? It's relevant today because it is human nature and human instinct to shy away and be afraid of the unforeseen. In fact, the rate of technological innovations has exploded over the past century. Yet, very few of these life-changing innovations were welcomed with open arms. The rate of technological adoption is also greater than any other time in history. There will always be those who don't believe and are skeptical to invest into the unknown. In fact, a study conducted at MIT indicated that 0.5% of all data available today is actually being utilized. 0.5%. We need you to commit to a bold investment into outside data companies that have the skills and tools to provide predictive analytics needed to solve our out-of-stock issues. You are all out of excuses to get in stock, and we are Team Big Data. My name is Brooke Stafford, and I'm very happy to introduce to you the rest of Team Big Data. Joe Averill with SuperValue, Steve Tanner with Cub Foods, Matt Saines with Bimbo Bakeries USA, and Jonathan Fernandez with the Albertsons Companies. Now, the consequences of out-of-stocks can be dire, and not just from the shopper's perspective. From the retailer's point of view, there runs a risk of the shoppers leaving and switching stores permanently. An out-of-stock at one store leads to a sale in another. From the CPG perspective, there are also losses, but in brand switching and loss in sales altogether. But why is the time now? We are seeing technology companies such as Amazon penetrate further and further into our space. We need to utilize new sources of data to implement predictive ordering, and to do that, we must partner with third-party outside data companies. Today, we will be sharing issues of out-of-stocks that have been plaguing our industry, urgency to adopt new sources of data, and recommend ways to increase our competitive advantage now and in moving forward in the future. Joe, please take us through out-of-stocks that have been plaguing our industry.
Sure. The Achilles heel of grocery has hovered around 8% for years, or has it been decades? That is a quote from a Progressive Grocer article from just this past January. Through our research, we found that 8% out-of-stock rate to be consistent across several sources. And for advertised items, it actually jumps up to 10%. So knowing that the retail grocery industry is a $612 billion industry, the out-of-stock rate that results in lost sales to retail is 4%. So knowing that the grocery industry is a $612 billion industry, that's a $24.5 billion sales opportunity for the industry. So assuming an incremental net income rate of about 20%, that equates to a net earnings opportunity of $4.9 billion. IBIS World is projecting the retail industry to grow at an average rate of less than 1% over the next 5 years. So we can no longer afford to maintain an out-of-stock rate of 8% moving forward. Product availability is one of the top 3 reasons why a customer will shop a particular store. This has probably never been more important than in the current age of omni-channel competition, especially with the millennial shopper. So how do customers react when they encounter an out-of-stock? So it's essentially 3 strikes and you're out. On the first occurrence, 70% of customers will just purchase something else. So not a particularly big deal if you're the retailer, but it's definitely a problem for the CPG companies. On the second occurrence, it's equal across the board as to customers who will either not buy anything they'll buy something else, or they'll leave the store. And then on the third occurrence, stockouts equals walkouts. 70% of customers will leave the store. So we all spend a lot of time and money developing robust marketing plans, trying to draw customers into our stores. We certainly don't want to send them out of our stores disappointed and with limited to no purchases. So what is the root cause of out of stocks? 28% are caused by upstream issues, either at the warehouse or at the manufacturer level. The remaining 72% are caused by poor in-store execution. Specifically, 25% occur when inventory is actually in the store, but just not on the shelf at time of purchase. And the remaining 47% are caused by poor store ordering and forecasting. So today, many stores continue to order manually using a Telzon. Some have upgraded to a computer-assisted ordering, which utilizes limited structured data. Structured data is essentially data that's stored in predefined tables, such as receiving data or front-end point-of-sale data. So to improve our ordering at store level, we need to improve our use of structured data, and we need to begin to incorporate unstructured data, which Steve will talk further about now.
Well, I could stand up here and talk about unstructured data until you're all bored to tears, get up out of your chairs, and leave this room. But I'm not going to do that. I won't do that because that would undermine our underlying message of using technology to become more effective and efficient in your business operations. It is in this spirit that we'll choose to avail ourselves of this technology, and we'll be showing you a short video clip.
One of the big reasons the data is getting bigger is that it's continuously being generated from more sources and more devices. And much of that data, like videos, photos, comments in social media forums, reviews on websites, and so on, is unstructured. That means the data isn't stored within structured, predefined tables. Instead, it's often made up of volumes of text, dates, numbers, and facts that are typically free-form by nature. Certain data sources are arriving so fast, there's not even time to store it before applying analytics to it. And that's why traditional data management and analytics tools alone don't enable IT to store, manage, process, and analyze big data. So we could just ignore big data. After all, is it worth the effort? Turns out it is. A recent Gartner study concluded only 10 to 15% of organizations will take full advantage of big data, but those that do will outperform their unprepared competitors by 20% across major financial metrics. And that's, you guessed it, big. But in order to generate that level of insight and competitive advantage from big data, innovative new approaches and technologies are required. Because the big data you're looking at is like a mountain, and you're trying to uncover those tiny but game-changing, competitor-smacking golden nuggets of insight and knowledge that transform how effectively you do business.
Now, the key word here is innovation. When you stop innovating, you start becoming irrelevant. Take Yahoo, for example. At one point, the internet's largest search engine is now clinging to fourth place behind Google, Facebook, and Microsoft. They stopped innovating in their search technologies and decided to become a news corporation, as if we all needed another one of those. Tell me, when's the last time you Yahoo'd anything? Right? In 2007, almost half of all cell devices were BlackBerries. There was seemingly no end to their continued success. However, in that very same year, Apple launched their first iPhone. I'm sad to report that less than 1% of all cell devices today are BlackBerries. Now, in 2012, when Hostess went bankrupt, many pointed towards labor negotiations as being the root cause of it. However, this was only the final nail in the coffin. Hostess failed to innovate new product lines to meet changing consumer demands for new, alternative, and healthier snacking. Now, if you're going to implement a big data strategy in your company, you're going to be met with some big challenges. The first is fear of the unknown. Now, structured data that Joe talked about, we know all about it. We've been working with it for a long time. But with unstructured data, we can see the inputs, we can measure the outputs, but we don't exactly know how one affects the other. This is known as the black box phenomenon. Secondly, human error. The cornerstone to any good strategy is being able to diagnose the problem. It still takes humans to ask the right questions and build the right models. Our predictive models are only as competent as the people asking the questions. Which leads us to our next challenge, is anomalies. Now, if I were to tell you that Hillary Clinton won the presidency and the Atlanta Falcons held on to win the Super Bowl, you'd think I was crazy. But that's what the data told us was going to happen. Some people couldn't even conceive that the outcome could happen any other way. And if we cannot conceptualize an outcome, we can't predict it. And perhaps the most important challenge to overcome in your company is ownership. Now, I'm not talking about buying a room full of servers and hiring an IT staff to service them. I'm talking about top-down ownership in your company, starting with the CEO, setting guiding policies that are supported from the bottom up with coherent actions supporting these principles. Now that we've seen what happens when you get it wrong, Matt's going to talk about who's getting it right today, and he's going to give you some recommendations on things you can take back to your companies and start implementing day one.
We have examples of 3 companies that have made data count. The first one is Morrisons, UK's 4th largest grocer. They paired with a third-party data analytics company to decrease their out-of-stocks using structured data by up to 30%. The second is Red Roof Inn. They took a new approach to unstructured data. They found between 1% and 3% of flights get canceled daily. This leaves 25,000 to 90,000 stranded passengers in an airport. They use this unstructured data to be able to target market them and make it easier for them to book hotel rooms at the last minute, growing their sales by 10%. The third one is Taco Bell. They took a new approach to unstructured data using social media. What they have done is they found that less people are taking to the corporate message these days, and more people are putting weight in what people tweet, post, and blog. So they've empowered their customers to speak for them in these forums and help grow their sales. So our first recommendation is pairing structured data with unstructured data. Structured data in the forms of product, price, time, and promotion should be paired with unstructured data. Things such as weather, special events, social media, and upcoming holidays. Now, when we speak about special events, we're not just talking about sporting events or concerts. We're looking at things such as allergy season. If we continue to order the average or what we sold last year, that's not going to be good enough. It's known months in advance the severity of allergy season. So why don't we use it? If we incorporate this and put both structured and unstructured data together, we can get the perfect order. The right product, the right place, at the right time. So our second recommendation is we discussed with a third-party data analytics company and found that it would cost about $2.5 million per year for a 100-store banner. What we also found in discussing with an executive in this industry is it costs between $300,000 to $500,000 for about a 10-store, 90-day trial period. This is such a small investment into something that can change your business. And the reason why these costs are so small compared to just 5 years ago is because it's a cloud-based service. It takes away that overhead and that additional capital from being hardware and makes it a much easier process to roll it out from that trial period to the full chain. And this is also in major contrast to a full system replacement that costs between $30 and $50 million. So what we think ordering, or what we know ordering will look like in the future, is order forecasting 14 to 21 days out, giving better visibility of what's to come. The second is auto-replenishment, taking away that manual order process and reallocating those employees to an area to help grow sales. The third is real-time information. No more using day-old data or week-old data, but being able to log into a system, see what's in your store right now, what you sold, and what you have coming up. Being able to make informed, educated decisions. The next one is low inventory alerts. Getting that text message or that email and allowing you to fix the problem. You saw in an earlier slide, 25% of out-of-stocks, the product's in the store. So that allows you simply to go in the back room, pull the product, fill the shelf, problem solved. Now, the other 75% of the time, instead of waiting for things to fix themselves, it allows us to be proactive instead of reactive. It is with no doubt, if you incorporate all of this, you will have improved store execution. And this is just based around utilizing human artificial intelligence. Jonathan, let's take a look at the numbers.
The biggest benefit you will see by implementing our recommendations is in your top line. We are estimating you could potentially recoup 3 out of the 4% sales loss due to out of stocks each year. In speaking to the president of one of these third-party data companies, we were given an estimate of $15,000 per store in continuing service costs. Now that's per year. Now when you take the incremental sales lift to your bottom line at 20%, you are looking at a return of 5 times on your investment. Now we realize there will be some additional benefits from implementing a big data strategy into your companies. Marketing teams can now have insight into demand on a SKU level. They can see when it will rise and when it will fall, and make pricing and promotion decisions in the future. Companies are already targeting individual customers. You can now target based on location in order to bring them into your store when they're closest. And you can also help individual stores merchandise to their community based on the almost infinite amount of demographic information, instead of just relying on one individual's instinct. Time in line is top of mind for all your consumers. With technology being pioneered outside of our industry, coupled with fraud prevention analytics, you can now give your top-tier customers the ability to approve payments on the go. Overstocks account for a significant loss in sales, shrink, and labor for U.S. retailers each year. By having the right order at the right place at the right time, you can begin to chew into the almost $19 billion opportunity of overstocks. So I want you all to just imagine for a second. You've partnered with a third-party data company. You've implemented unstructured data into a predictive ordering system. You could potentially become the first retailer to offer the always in-stock store. Now what this is just a very simple mock-up of the story you can tell your consumers. With any bold claim must come a guarantee. So we recommend that when life does happen and a customer does come in and doesn't find everything they're looking for, that you'll deliver to their house on the house. So are you ready to go from this to this? We've talked about the issues that have been plaguing our industries for so long, years, if not decades. An 8% out-of-stock rate leading to a 4% loss in sales each year. We've talked about the urgency to stay ahead of the competition, not only within our own industry, but also outside of it. And we're going to talk about a few of just the next steps for you to take when you go back to your companies. We need your investment into these third-party data companies that can help solve our 8% out-of-stock issue leading to the 4% sales loss through a predictive ordering system in order to really get to the root cause of why they occur in the first place. And we know change isn't easy. We're asking for a top-down champion so that all the leaders of your organization are focused on one goal. And we ask that as you begin to realize the benefits from our recommendations, that you invest in the additional opportunities that you could realize by having a big data strategy in your companies. On behalf of Team Big Data, we'd like to thank you and now open the floor for any questions. Thank you.